Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the judging deliberations of the VaporJam that was just held over the last several weeks. I am your host, Shibanya, and I'm joined this evening by some amazing judges. And I'll let y'all introduce yourselves going down the lines.
Hi, I'm Ash. I'm a professional voice actor, and I'm also a you can hear me in some anime of various and sundry sorts, and games and stuff. I'm also a visual novel developer, and a solo developer, so I do all that jazz. I also do directing and that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's me.
All right, hey everyone, I am Mihai, or Michael, as some of you may know me. I'm a voice actor and streamer. I also work in a lot of video games, have done some anime in the past. Got an upcoming animation that looking forward to share with everyone soon. And yeah, been with Shibanya in the dog pit for a long time now. We're getting old, Shibanya.
Yes, it's true.
Is that me? Is it my cue?
It's your
Yes,
turn.
go.
Hi, I'm Milo, professional tech deck athlete and cryptocurrency investor. I also voice act when I don't have anything better to do. You can hear me in a lot of visual novels. So if you guys like visual novels, check me out. If you don't like visual novels, I don't have a whole lot else to offer, so sorry.
Oh. The way these jams work is sort of a graduation tournament style. There are 4 categories that are going to be decided tonight where if someone wins that category and then later wins Game of Jam, the runner-up in that category will then be promoted to the winner. So if there's, say, a winner of Best Audio and a runner-up of Best Audio, if the game that won Best Audio later wins Game of Jam, then the runner-up then takes home the Best Audio prize. So that way there's not a clean sweep of every single prize by one single game. The winners in each category are decided by consensus. So we're going to be in the Thunderdome this evening, battling out who is going to win what. But before we get to the judge determined winners, we are going to take a moment to recognize the winner of Community Choice, which we totally know right now because this isn't pre-recorded at all. The name will be displayed right now. I'm so proud of you. I believed in you the whole time. So everybody congratulate the winner of Community Choice.
Oh my God, what an amazing choice. I can't believe it. Oh.
You all just chef's kiss.
Choice. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, I was rooting for you the whole time. Voting on Community Choice closed just before the stream started. Stream being live as always, of course. So anyway, nice job to the game and team whose name is currently displayed on the screen. It's awesome. Okay. And now, we're going to have a look at the first judge-determined category of the evening, and that is going to be Best Audio. So, y'all just toss out nominees of anybody you think ought to be considered for this. I've certainly got some here. I think that Vector Soldier Vero is a top contender in this category for not only the original soundtrack, but also the sound effects being totally on point. Anybody got any others y'all want to toss out there?
That was actually, one of mine as well. That one and oh gosh, golly gee, I'm having to remind myself which games are which again. I also really liked the I think it's Virtual Drive 96. It's not original music, but I still liked the implementation of it. I think they picked they picked the great stuff, even if it isn't original music like I'm aware of. Like they picked a good track to go with it. So those would be my two.
I think another game
On to that.
Yes?
Yeah.
Well, I want to
On
make
to
sure...
that, I would like...
Yes, Mihai?
Yeah,
proceed.
Yes, I'd like to add Hyperblocks as well to Best Audio for how well its composition was, in which the music just captured the feel of the game, the sound effects just simple but responsive, and it all came together very satisfyingly. So, want to throw that one in from my end.
I was going to mention as well Super Vaporwave Ball for having an original soundtrack.
Yes.
And those tracks were fantastic.
Oh yeah, I would definitely. I had to remind myself which one that was. Yeah, that one as well.
Yeah.
I was trying to find it. I knew there was a third one that I was thinking of, and I couldn't. I was like, wait, am I wrong? Am I crazy? That was it though.
I feel like based on everybody else's notes, I'm going to have very little backup on this. But I thought Who Killed Laura had some really incredible sound effects that were like so crunchy and weird and textured that I just from like an audio perspective, I was like, how did they even make these? They sound so strange and like almost like binaural audio where you're sort of hearing it in a very in your brain kind of way. I thought that was really, really exciting. But I have a feeling no one is going to agree with me.
I saw your notes on I saw your notes because I looked at everybody's notes. I was like, who would other people say?
You saw my notes? No. I put them on the spreadsheet shared with y'all so that y'all would not read them.
Oh gosh. I did it after I did my own notes. Very clear. I was like, okay, what do other people say? Now that I've made my thoughts, what do people say as well? And I actually agree with you that I think the audio is like from like a microcosmic perspective. Like they did some like really cool shit. Like or wherever they got it from, or if they did their own Foley or whatever, like there was some cool shit in there. To me, I was like, I can appreciate at that level. But I feel like as far as like it's servicing the whole, it was like that's all it was. Does that make sense? So it's like I think they picked some real cool shit and they did some real cool shit with it. It was just kind of like this sounds cool, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. So it was kind of like
well, the whole thing is sort of nebulous what it means. So I felt like as I was clicking each of the individual things that makes a crazy sound, I was like so sort of laughing and having a good time and thinking like this audio so makes this experience, because if you didn't have these crunchy sound effects, it would still be like the weird vaporwave Twin Peaks thing that it is, but it really felt like opening a toy box to me because of how extreme the audio cues were. I feel like that really enhanced the experience in a way that I don't know if I felt as strongly about any of the other audio in any of the where it all felt good in all the rest of it. All the stuff we've mentioned felt like amazing to me, but that felt like, oh, this really does something to the experience for me, because I don't know if I would enjoy this thing as much as I do without these crazy sound effects.
So about the experience, because I was feeling that as well. The comments you both had where it's crunchy, it's odd, it's strange, it adds something to it, but the way in which the game is structured, where it's an audio maze, where I needed to do everything in a certain order, opening like an interesting comparison. But I felt like I was constantly ripping through a toy box to get to the one that I wanted at the bottom. And it was the thing of, it's interesting, but it is very jarring because of how it all just collides together.
Right. And that's what I mean by, like, it didn't really serve the game itself. It almost was like...
Yeah, I can appreciate the sound design, but I wish it had supported the gameplay more, in the sense of I didn't get... And correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't get the feeling like the audio did anything to point towards the right direction or really give much feedback as far as like how well you were doing in the sort of maze such as it was. I think that would have strengthened the entire experience if there had been a bit more signposting, I suppose. I wanted to mention, before I forgot, that I appreciated the game Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy End. Had some voice acting in it, and an original soundtrack, and also sound effects bears mentioning. So that was another one of the...
I feel like I'd
Outer
be
Cruisers.
biased because it's my voice acting. So it's like, well, yeah, it's great. Like, hell yeah, it's the best voice acting ever. But like, I have to recuse exactly.
Yeah, but it definitely
and
bears
one thing
mentioning
I'll
for
say
being one of
is
the best uses of audio, among the best uses of audio in the jam.
Right.
And very responsive as well.
Yes.
So there's feedback to every action that you're taking, the pickups that you're getting. There's a lot of... It was well put together. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope System Logoff keeps working on it. I'd love to see, the sort of final version of what he had in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we've tossed all these out here, I guess it's time to battle it out. My opinion is that Vector Soldier V-Row should be the winner in this category for having sort of the complete... it excels in audio, not only in the original soundtrack, but also in the sound effect implementation.
I'd be willing to second you on that.
Anybody else? Thoughts?
I'll say what was interesting about Vector Soldier V-Row in particular is that though it went for a very particular sound in the genre that it was in, the kind of openness and eeriness of the audio is something that it still brought in that feeling of vaporwave and something that's very just vast and floaty around me, even though you're playing something very fast-paced and action-based. So that was an interesting thing.
I played it again after the stream, and I found I really like the tune from the level Greco-Roman. I realized later it was a pun on Mega Man, because everybody's name ends in man in that series. I hadn't played it. I didn't realize it. I just knew it from the memes, like Gutsman's ass and all that. Yes, it's Gutsman. So I realized it's Greco-Roman. That track was fantastically done with the sound font that Clay was using in that vaporwave style, while still being semi-authentic to the era. So I appreciated it even more. But that said, judging is not by popular vote in this jam. We got to come to a consensus. So we gotta. Anybody want to battle for another one winning in this category?
I'm happy to defer to you two. I don't feel that strongly that I need to battle for my one that I very specifically enjoy, mostly because I'm me. So I'll let you guys. I think that's a very good. That's a very strong pick. So I don't have any objections to that.
Let's see. So, Mihai, you wanted Hyperblocks as runner-up. My suggested runner-up would be Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy End.
Yeah, I'd actually have to say that as well. I'm agreeing with you. I don't know what that's about.
Not only for
not just because I'm in it. I mean, just because
not just because Ash is in it, but I believe that the tracks are all original and by. Well, do we know who did? I might need to fire up Hyperblocks. It might have been Noyemi who did the music, but I don't know for sure.
Let's find out. I bet I can find out real fast.
Verify.
But even aside from
music,
if the music was original and Hyperblocks, for the music being a great tune. Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy End implemented audio in a way that was more tied into all of its mechanics. Now, that doesn't have to mean it's the best because of that, but that just is why I personally think that way. It doesn't have to be a criteria for all of y'all.
Right. The person who did the music on Hyperblocks is named Mortensen, named Sam. They are the developer of... Do you remember Triangle Lovers?
Yeah, I remember that.
One Jam. They developed.
Okay, so it is original. It is original. I do remember that being a real catchy tune. So, I do feel conflicted at the very least.
Because I see what you mean about the gameplay experience as a whole, even knowing the scope of Tragedy Will Not Stop. Tragedy Will Not Stop. It's again, I'm thinking about it. The music is good. It's responsive, and that's even one thing I was thinking about with some of the other ones is going. I know, say, Super Vaporwave Ball I really love, but they unfortunately did not have any sound tied to the ball, which was difficult.
Yeah. Because I love the original soundtrack of that. You can get it for free on Bandcamp. It's great. I highly recommend it. But their lack of sound effects makes me not want to really push hard for it as a winner, as opposed to some of these other ones. I'm conflicted now that I know for sure that the tune in Hyperblocks is original as well, because that was a really catchy tune. I did like that. Milo, have you got any thoughts about Hyperblocks versus Tragedy?
I love Hyperblocks. Hyperblocks is a jam favorite for me.
As far as audio,
thinking about the two of them just in terms of audio, I feel like Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy Ending had a lot more sound design in terms of the things that you do, having sort of a sound. I remember while we were streaming it, I said, "What is that snare drum?" Because I was so excited by some sound in that game that sounds like it's just a snare drum, but it's tied to something happening. And I don't. Can somebody correct me? Do the pieces in Hyperblocks make sound?
I actually can't
Not
remember.
They do
that
when they move.
I don't recall, actually.
I only remember the
They
song.
do when they move.
I think because
I think that we can't remember, actually.
Yeah.
I think because Tetris is such a distinct experience. I think there could have been a lot more sound design, like haptic feedback when you do things in that game, because I can't recall whether it had anything or not. And also we discussed how when you put all the blocks down, there's like a picture that shows up.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like that picture to make sound. I don't know if it does or not. I never got to that picture being completely full, but I would like that picture to make sound because that picture is incredible.
That's a good point. It would be really interesting if, like, the more like blocks you had piling up, like the more like an ominous sound.
Ooh,
So you could just, like,
yeah.
hear that you're close to losing as well.
I think like the potential sound design and the fact that the gap. I think the gap between the potential versus what they actually did is kind of it makes it. That's what makes it for me shift away from that, because like I could see what they could have done.
Yeah,
and we established that it never speeds up, right? It's always more or less sort of the same pace.
Well, no, it does speed up.
It
I
does
think
speed up, actually.
Tamar says if you complete lines, it speeds up. I should have tried that, but it doesn't speed up automatically.
Yeah, but I'm assuming the music is not scored to it speeding up, no? Because like in Tetris, the music speeds up.
Yeah, I didn't know. See, I didn't even notice a speed up. Like even after I was like playing, so either it's so slow that like. You know,
so
it's sped up after a few Tetrises, but then you're kind of going against what is the intention of filling up this.
Yeah,
I feel confident then with naming Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy End as the runner-up in audio. How do y'all feel?
Yeah.
All right.
The composition overall was great, so yeah, I have no objections.
And am I crazy, or is it the only one with voice acting?
It is the only one with voice acting.
Okay, so biases based on who it is aside, I do feel like that's a level of ambition I would like to applaud, because none of the rest of them have voice acting, period. So that's a pretty big accomplishment on its own.
They really ought to. I mean, really, honestly, like,
no, but I mean,
wink, wink.
Send a little message.
Yeah, if you want to win next year, hire me. That's what I'm saying.
No, but I unironically agree, because
3 voice actor judges.
It really does a lot to add some character
Dangerous.
and style, flair to your game in a way that's relatively easy to implement for the developer. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it requires work on the part of the actor, but if they're just
the Hyperblocks team is listening, what I would love to see is that the pieces scream when they hit the field.
I want like a squishy like splat sound.
I just want them to go ah.
I think I want, if I have something, I just want some to sort of like. All sorts of weird, randomized vocoded stuff.
I would love just
They should chant
just
Latin.
a totally bog standard nuts and bolts Tetris where the pieces scream when you drop them. What's happening to me? No features, no improvements. Basic Tetris, they just scream at you the whole time.
Okay. But anyway, big congratulations to Vector Soldier Vero for winning Best Audio, and congrats to the runner-up, Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy End. So, nice work to both of
Way
y'all.
to go.
Nice work.
Clap, clap, clap.
All right. The next category we'll be looking at tonight is Best Art. So we want to toss some nominees out there.
Liminal.
Oh, yeah. Liminal Dreams.
Liminal Dream.
The fuck? Liminal Dream. I was like, liminal what? What is it? Liminal Dream. That's my first one. Like, that was the first, like, that was one of those ones where it was like, oh, this is so good. The art. Why is this all original? What? And it was very, like...
Oh, yeah. And, Lissara / Floofy Scarp / Jess put up a blog on ArtStation about the making of the character of the animations. Definitely worth a read. Then.exe, which has several original compositions, collages. And I think that's a hugely central part of the experience of that game, and there are a lot of them. So definitely want to put that out there for best art.
To add to that,
that's a lot of really good art.
I think Heaven.exe with the level of detail that was put into each one of the scenes that people could be in, it's immersive. I have other thoughts on Heaven.exe, but I know we're gonna get into that because yes, agreed.
I also think Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy End bears mentioning here. Foremost for its UX design, System Logoff always really excels at UX, which is often an afterthought. I mean, I think y'all heard me griping several times, like, did you have to use the default Unity button? Come on, people.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the interface for Tragedy was beautiful, pleasing, and well integrated with, like, what was going on. Additionally, the screen wipes when going from screen to screen, kind of like Zelda Link's Awakening style, those were the Dixie Cup pattern. And I thought that was such a wonderful touch.
We're probably going to have to contend with me mentioning this game in every category from now on. I think Vaporized, I was stunned by the artwork when that game started up. I couldn't believe what it looked like, and it is very sort of, I guess I would describe it as quotidian when it begins. Like, you're looking at a very normal apartment, and everything is very normal, and it's very high quality normal apartment art. But then as the shift in that game happens, the visuals overall are absolutely mind blowing. I think especially in sort of assisting what that experience actually is, because it you know, that two worlds that you're sort of occupying. I think that was. I couldn't believe that was a jam game. So I feel like I need to say that the art in that absolutely, like, floored me. Just even when it just started before it became Vaporwave, I was like, I can't believe this looks this good. And then it became Vaporwave, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe somebody made this.
You beat me to it, because even from what was essentially the press start screen, as I'm just watching the pixel artwork and the way in which they use light, they used color, the split between the two worlds. As I played it, it was something I kept playing more, because I said, what else are they going to bring in? The way they brought up the title, integrated things, it just was jaw-dropping.
And I believe the Cheshire Cat made that game entirely by himself. And it's been fun to watch over the years, like, seeing what the Cheshire Cat has been doing with pixel art, because I've seen some definite improvements. That's always really, like, nice to see. What I also really appreciated about the art in this game was how much it resembled older adventure games with the same kind of general mechanics. It reminded me of Techno Babylon. Contemporary adventure game, but
I think if anything, just a little more flippant in its tone where it's going. That's something I loved. You get your one pivotal moment. It's just like, is that all, bro? Okay.
Yeah, it was
I'll
good.
go back to
And
being aesthetic.
that also had a nice interface. Once I figured it out, it was not overbearing. It was pleasing, not obtrusive. Yeah, so I definitely agree that was good. Oh, and I wanted to. Oh, I should point out the shader with the disintegrating title. Was the result. I think y'all could like search in one of the game dev channels on Dogpit Discord. I was helping the Cheshire Cat with a shader, but then I got busy with my day job and didn't finish helping him. And so he came up with this weird disintegrating shader in my absence. And then he's like, "Look at this! I made this without you." And I'm like, "Yay! Yeah, you love to see it. You love to see it."
Nice.
So yeah, that is definitely a good pick. I wanted to also mention Hyperblocks just for being very pleasing to look at. Also had a bird.
That'd be another one. That'd be
For
another
sure.
one that's up there for me. It's just very tight looking. It's very like
Because I don't believe the art in that game was necessarily quote unquote original, but I think it was in something like that, particularly a 3D game. The way you put it together and the shading makes a big difference. And I believe that Tom R does all or most of his own shaders, because that's always been a thing that gets commented on in his game. So wanted to at least toss out a mention out there for that.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, it had that sick picture of Satan. How can you not like that?
Yeah, that was amazing. Also, when you realize sort of what is happening with the 360 Tetris thing, where it's like mirroring half of it, that was like mind-blowing to me. The way it comes across visually, but also sort of the implications for what the gameplay is going to be, were so exciting to me.
It's true. It's good use of visuals. And I'm definitely going to bring that up again when we're talking about gameplay if somebody else doesn't beat me to it. So this is going to be a hard one. Yeah?
I'll say, because I know art, if anything that I felt had an issue with art was often gameplay related. So the ones where I see great art, but there might be something that I didn't feel was implemented quite as effectively, like Hyperblocks. I just wanted the ghost block because it was very hard to see as I was building this tower. Or my play style is I see Tetraminos, I go, I want to play Tetris. So I'm just breaking it down, going, it's speeding up. I actually didn't realize the picture built up like that, so I want to go back and see that now. But I
would have liked to have seen the pieces be tinted different colors to distinguish them. And yeah, I was missing that ghost piece. Need that ghost piece. I mean, there's a whole...
Just given the wide play... the tall play field.
And in terms of visual feedback, I think it could have done better to signal like what the top, like the curtain at the top meant. Because like I figured it out, but it wasn't immediately clear. Like, oh, these are the bounds of the play space. I think that, I think it wouldn't be terribly hard to tweak that to just make it more clear. Like, you don't want the blocks to get up there. Like, I think that sort of curtain of light was a nice cyan, light blue color. It would have been interesting if it like turned more and more red or something as you got closer to like crossing the threshold or something along those lines. But as far as fighting for who ought to win, I have a feeling this is going to be a tough sell, but I think I might start out by saying heaven.exe.
Don't dislike the art in heaven.exe. Like, be very, very clear. I don't dislike it. I just don't. It's good. Like, that's the problem. It's all good art. Like, it's all good art. It's just, to me, it was like, okay, this is good and I like it, but also like, I didn't get as much of a feel as I think Mihai did. Not that I didn't appreciate the aesthetic. Like, I was like, oh, cool image, great. And then I was immediately into the text. Like, I didn't create a mental connection between like the image, the art itself didn't, for me personally, enhance any textual immersiveness. Like, it was there and it was good and it created mood, but I was just kind of like, okay, it's a stadium. Like, I'm looking at it right now again. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. This is where we are. Cool. Like, it was so good. It was just kind of like, it was not a winner for me is all.
That's fair. I think part of it is,
it's
I've played a fair few tabletop games, and it's definitely a different kind of experience, and I think they are often best social, and I think one of the big difference makers for me was I wasn't on stream with anybody, but when I was playing it on stream, Dieting Hippo was in chat and was kind of like guiding me through some of the more confusing parts, and I think the fact that I had somebody to like talk to about it and experience it with really helped it, because I've got fond memories of going back to like middle school and a friend bringing their 3.5 manuals in and like poring over these monster designs with a friend, and there's like some magic in the fact that you have to use your imagination with these tabletop RPG manuals. So I can see how that's not everybody's bag.
Well, I mean, for me, like, I've played a fair amount here. I play a lot of tabletops as well. It's not, but at the same time, it's like I play a fuck ton of tabletops actually.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to imply anybody.
And that's no. But I'm saying I think I just come up from the opposite direction of, like, because I play a lot of tabletops. It's like, you give me text, I got you. I know where we're at, And so the art was there as like a hint, but like gave me like a general mood of where to start from. But I was just like, okay, I got it. We're good. Moving on. Like, I didn't really look at it a lot, honestly. I was more focused on the text and like actually like playing the text part of it.
Fair.
I'd even say I'd feel it leans more towards aesthetic than art, because I'm taking in the art, but the whole package of Heaven.exe, where it gives you music to listen to, and also
that's a different category for one.
That's
but
true.
also, like, I think from that perspective, as far as like a total, like, if you're including things like font and like all that kind of good stuff, that's a more of like a
that's true, style thing.
Style packaging. It's more of a, to me, that's less art, more user experience.
I can see that, and
aesthetic user experience.
And
that's the distinction I make between the two.
Kind of see against its favor that technically you could remove all the art and you could still play the game, which is not necessarily true of the others. Well, what would y'all put forward as a potential winner in this category?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go on. No. Go ahead.
I feel so strongly that Vaporized is like the sort of definitive pick, because I have played. I mean, like, I'm obsessed with those Wajidai games. I'm obsessed with the Monkey Islands. All of that. I feel like I've been playing adventure games for 20 years, and the amount of excitement in that space is kind of dry at this point. Like, somebody either spends $1 million and never makes their money back, or they do something very basic art-wise. And so to like still be super in awe of what a point-and-click adventure game looks like is and I was so blown away by what it looked like.
Especially with some of the shader effects.
I don't necessarily disagree that the art in Vaporized is good. Like, it's incredible. Like, it's fucking great. And I'll reveal some of my secret inner thoughts later as to why I'm not gonna like absolutely totally throw my hat in for that yet. But my only qualm with necessarily straight out of the gate giving it best art, not because the art isn't great, because it's fucking fantastic. And not that I'm not necessarily against, I feel like I'm over talking. It's that it is, I've played a hell of a lot of adventure games too, and it looks like a lot of other adventure games I've played. That, like, it's a great looking game. Holy fuck, it's a great looking game. But like, if you were to show me a screenshot, maybe outside of the immediate vaporwave part, it would look like a whole bunch of other adventure games I've played.
I would
So
say
that, you know what I mean? So like it's still good. It's still great. Oh my God. Like I really will make that very clear that it still looks fantastic. But as far
Yeah.
as like its overall style outside of the vaporwave segments, which again are great, it looks like a bunch of games I've played.
But I think for me that's what's so successful about it is that it does that style perfectly in a way that makes the shift so shocking in a way that I don't think it would be if it was just vaporwave from the beginning, because it looks so perfectly like a sort of standard tack adventure game. That moment where the wall opens up is like, holy, how did they even do this? I think that's like super, super, super strong. And the normal looking stuff is still like some of the highest quality, quote unquote, normal looking stuff I think I've seen in a point and click adventure game in general.
And the amount of animation that went into it
Yeah.
altogether, it's just for the length of time of this jam, it is a tremendous amount of work that is animated. We've got shaders, that we've got so many elements into a small point and click game that it just I don't know what to add beyond that.
would be remiss not to mention Vector Soldier Vero, because the sprite artwork on that game is so appealing. I feel like it's the perfect way to like evoke something that is retro without being bound to the constraints. Like I get very frustrated when there are these like pixel art purists who are like, no, we can't do this, that, and the other because they didn't have the technology to do that back in the day. It's like, no, like, it's like, no, like, you know, make it fun. So like a game that came out in the CGA era would not be able to have sprites that big. But this game can like so beautifully encapsulate that feel while being better than it was back in the day because they're not so constrained by like memory that they have to have these teeny sprites. So I really appreciated that. And the cartoon characters were so fun and appealing. So you have like the Deliberations characters, like the cars, and the other one there was like lava lamps or something. There were all these really fun characters. There's like a bad hand character. So it felt, I haven't played the Mega Man series, but I guess I'm familiar with the cartoon because of the memes. So as I recall, there are all these like really weird, eccentric characters in that cartoon. And so I feel like they did a good job of sort of capturing that feel of like cartoony characters living in that game. So
I think one thing that was also really nice is since this was done in the CGA style, it still had excellent contrast to it, that I could see where my enemies were, where all of my actions were, so I could follow the action on screen despite having, I believe, 4 colors in total. So it made gameplay very comfortable because I could see all the action just with how they did all the sprite artwork.
yeah, it seems like the character sprites had a white border around all of them that helped them stand out from the background, so that was a nice touch. Had some sweet dithering too, some good dithering.
Dithering, dude.
I feel like we're probably between Vaporized and Vector Soldier Vero. Is that correct?
I guess that's where it's landing. Yeah. I still, even if we don't give it top pick, I still want to like shout out Liminal Dream because
That's true. They
made me extremely happy.
Yeah.
And I was super vibed the whole time. I was just like, I'm gonna dance. Great.
The art for the character was really good. I think what makes it lose points for me, and this is perhaps, you know, their poor luck for entering a jam run by a graphics programmer, but the use of lighting was to the detriment of the art. That game could have been lit much better. It could have been shaded much better in such a way to really bring out the models that existed, and it feels a bit like a missed opportunity because they had that sort of twilight, well, you know, the liminal space between daytime and nighttime with the setting sun. And I did appreciate how like the sun was reactive to the player inputs. So you want to like capture this feel of darkness, so you can have those streaks stand out. But the thing is, you can make a scene look dark without actually making it dark.
Well, Oh yeah.
And this
Yeah.
comes down to, color design and other things like that. And I think they needed to improve that to really make that game stand out in the way that the art deserved. That's my opinion, my feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's why it's definitely like one of the situations where it's like I said, I just want to shout them out because it was so
Yeah.
good, and I'm just like, I feel like so much work was put into that. I mean, all were obviously fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I had remarked to you a similar thing where it's like the model is so good, I just wish I could see it more. And I don't know anything about anything that you just said. So if it, if it's that obvious, I feel like. Also, I think if a game is going to be so heavily leaning on like the gameplay, I would have loved to see a lot more visually going on with that because
Well, yeah.
it was not really responsive to what you do at all, and it made it feel almost trivial to actually play it. Like I almost just wanted to watch it like a screensaver more than I wanted to do the rhythm part, because the rhythm part did not respond to my. The animations would change, which I think is awesome, but the actual like arrows that you're sort of filling up, they don't say great or terrible, or they don't like light up when you hit them or anything. Like I wish there was more art direction in terms of the actual like thing that you're playing as well.
Yeah,
But
no,
the model was amazing.
it struck me as more of like a toy than like a game necessarily. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. No, I'm not saying that any of these things aren't true. That it didn't. I wish it was a game. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think when we consider best art,
think even
and all the trappings that go with it.
We can't just consider like which one individual piece of artwork in the game is the best. It's sort of what is the game that had the best visual.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not necessarily nominating for best art either. Like I'm just saying.
No, no, I agree. I'm not shooting you down. Well, while we're mentioning things, I do want to give a shout out to Oasis OS for the really charming animations of the creature. That was a cute thing.
Yeah, same thing.
And those are some really nicely done animations. I think one of the reasons why it's not a big contender as a winner in this category is the lack of feedback, both within the, gameplay, but also the UX design. And also I griped about the default Unity buttons on the stream. Would it kill y'all to not use the default Unity buttons, really? And the fact that the character could get hidden behind the interface kind of makes it lose points in this category. But I hope they keep working on it, because it was a really cute Vapor Dog. I assume it was a dog.
Yeah, and even just seeing, I believe they're a fairly new video game developer, and seeing some of their art and other things that they have with the project, I hope that they're able to continue developing more things.
Absolutely.
If we're doing games that we don't really want to consider to win, but just want to say they look really awesome.
Give me shout-outs.
Trimplay Kinfolk Overdrive, I feel like, did not fit the theme of the jam super seamlessly. But I am a complete sucker for the kind of Undertale Mother 3 art style that they went with, and I thought a lot of that art was like really, really strong, even if it was sort of tangentially vaporwave a lot of the time. I love the character models. I love what the inside of the house looks like. I love that there's just like random Japanese stuff happening every time you leave the house.
Little kanji attack.
Yeah. I love just a lot of the visual language of that game, even if it really seemed to kind of not care too much about the vaporwave part. And I definitely like, that's an experience I want to go back to, just because it feels so like RPGs that you would have played when you were 12 and forgot about forever. And I love that. All
right. So let's fight to the death, or to the winner of best art. I think it's really tough to think, because I think the top two, at least for me, are Vector Soldier, Vero, and Vaporized. But it's hard for me to decide which I think ought to win, because they both have such appealing art that serves like what they're actually doing. So y'all pitch some arguments at me.
I've actually got to throw a curveball in
Oh
there.
yes,
even,
Why
'cause,
would
please
you
do,
do
please
that?
do.
Oh,
as
no.
I
Why would you
think
do that?
about
Oh
it,
no.
Super Vapor Ball in
Mm.
its one, the assets that it had used altogether, and also just with the scan lines that the entire game is made as if it's played on a CRT. So I'm going, all right, I can distinctly feel this in the 90s. The color palette is on point, and while I think audio is the one thing I felt was lacking, I did enjoy the art presentation and just how it all looked as a whole.
I very much enjoyed the visual look of that game, and I particularly enjoyed it as a graphics nerd because of the steps they took to make it really imitate sort of PS1 era game. I think
Yeah.
part of what makes it not stand out to me the way Vector Soldier V-Row did, I think was in part they constrained the gameplay within the window, but they didn't
Yeah.
do anything in the border, which is like, why not just make the
It feels
inner
like
window
wasted space.
why not make that the window? You can do that, I mean, Slam Fighter 2 is like a 640 by 480 application. You're allowed to have a
Yeah.
small window. And I think I appreciated the shaders, but I feel like we need to pick these based not on like, oh, I knew they went through this effort behind the scenes, but try to detach any special knowledge we have about how it was made and think about approaching it as someone who doesn't have the forbidden knowledge. It doesn't
Forbidden shader knowledge.
the forbidden pixel art, the forbidden pixel shading. It was a really slick looking game, but it doesn't, to me, it didn't stand out as much as the rest in part. And I feel bad to like penalize it for following the theme, but the very simple 3D shapes make it not particularly memorable as far as art assets go.
I found I really like Super Vapor Ball. Or
I
what
did
was
too.
it called? I always forget. Yeah,
Super
Super
Vaporwave
Vapor
Ball.
Ball. Like I really like it. I really
yeah.
liked it.
I'm going to bring it up again for a few other
I really
categories.
liked it. For me it was like the I found it hard to visually interact with the art in a way that serviced the gameplay. Like I found it difficult to play the game because of the way the art was structured, as far as being able to judge distances and what I can jump on, that kind of stuff. Like, okay, where does this ledge? Where is this ledge?
That is true.
So yeah, so like that was, and I have problems with that anyway because I'm bad at video games. But
Solidarity.
yeah,
if you're gonna have a platformer, judging depth is kind of critical.
yeah, and I had a harder time doing that with the way they had set up their color schemes, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, depth was difficult. That is something I did run into when I was playing.
Yeah.
To me, Super Vaporwave Ball seems more like an aesthetic choice than I want to give it something for actual art. Because I love the aesthetic, but I do sort of struggle to see how does it serve the gameplay in the same way that Vaporized and Vector Soldier V-Row, those are both like so strongly connected to the actual gameplay versus just being aesthetic choices.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on that.
I think I would put forward Vector Soldier V-Row for art, best art, due to the sheer number of things that it's juggling. So you've got like the UI and the enemies and the projectiles and the character and all these characters, and put Vaporized as my choice for runner-up. But that doesn't have to be y'all's reasoning. Make your counter arguments now, or forever hold your peace.
I actually feel the same way that you do. As far as like just like judging it from just an art perspective, like I have the same qualms with both of them. Is that if you looked at it, it would look like a bunch of other games. But like with the sheer kind of amount of art going into Vector Soldier V-Row and like it all working together in a seamless way, makes me lean toward that being, we're talking like a 9.5 and a 9.7 sort of, narrow margin of slight elevation of Vector Soldier over Vaporized.
So my general feeling, I think Vector Soldier Vero is super strong, but it did not really ever surprise me. It all felt like amazing, but I never had a moment of being like really, really wowed by what it was trying. Like, I think it does what it's trying to do perfectly, but for Vaporized, it feels so ambitious, especially for a 2-week thing, to cram 2 fully realized, distinctly different art styles into the same experience in a way that is also thematically justified. It's not just Vaporwave welded on top of a normal-looking point-and-click adventure game for no reason. It's thematically relevant to the story the game is trying to tell or the experience that it's trying to give a player. I really was in shock when it was just the regular experience, but once it shifted over to that Vaporwave aesthetic, I really can't undersell how much I felt the magic of video games thing that as an almost 30-year-old you never feel playing video games anymore. So I don't feel like I could shift to seeing Vector Soldier Vero as stronger. I think it's very strong, but Vaporized is a feeling I don't really get from video games anymore. And to see that in a jam game is kind of flawless.
And see, okay, go on, Mihai.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing that really grabbed me about Vaporized was just seeing all of the shaders and just all of the various visual effects that worked as transitions or worked as lighting changes. That they're set in 2 radically different eras with what they try to accomplish, but the level of detail that even serves it where you're watching this melting pixel title like an old 90s Genesis game, and I go, that really caught me where I go, even the title gets me.
That is true. I feel like y'all.
Oh God, I hate.
Yash?
So this is my thing. This is what's up. Oh, sorry. This is my thing. And again, I feel like later you're gonna understand why I'm making these arguments.
All right.
But to me, I'm looking at it from the perspective of a sort of. To me, there's something more that oh my God, Vaporized. I feel like it hinges. It hinges more on a experiential performance. And I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of just art.
That's true.
There's something more that Vaporized, to me, it is doing something more that is not necessarily hinged on the art itself. I feel like I'm not explaining this well. Again, yeah, it's like
it seems like the art is
the difference
vital
between
to the theme and the aesthetic, and I feel like as a total unified game, I think I'll probably be talking about this more when we get to Game of Jam. I think it nails it. I think in terms of just examining it, art in a vacuum, I think that Vector Soldier Vero outshines it there.
There's nothing in Vector Soldier Vero, to be quite frank, that I'm like, how did they do that in 2 weeks? And Vaporize the whole thing, I don't know how they did it in 2 weeks.
I think that's just a style. I think that's just a difference. See, that's saying we're gonna be deadlocked on this in all of those things because I feel the literal exact opposite. Like I see what they did in Vaporize. I'm like, oh yeah, I know how they literally did all of that. So what I'm about to say is I'm willing to give Vaporized art because I know we have to come to a decision, and I don't care enough to keep fighting. I'm very tired. So I'm willing to give I'm fine with doing best art for Vaporized just to shift it.
Actually,
because it's got to be
Manuela,
done.
have we ever had a tie before in a category?
No.
I think that's the first time we've ever had an actual deadlock tie like that.
We're not going to have a tie because we don't have any procedures for resolving one.
Yeah.
And that's in part by design.
That's a problem.
Because if we start allowing ties, then we're never going to come to a decision about anything. I think.
Yeah.
Because part of my point of view is, well, with neither of them left me wondering, like, I wonder how they did that, but I'm kind of like in a position
Exactly.
to how all of them were.
That's the problem. It's when you have any kind of game dev knowledge wrecks that, because you're just like, oh yeah, like I know how the fight happened.
You know what? This is such a tough decision because they're both so good. I will lean Vaporized for having, I guess, sort of what you'd call cinematics, in a sense of art that goes beyond.
Yes, there's a sense of cinematography and like storyboarding and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I would say the art direction, and I hate to like say I'm penalizing Vector Soldier Vero because it's not like I said a requirement to excel at art is to be cinematic, but I guess in terms of personal preference, yes, it's got the sweet ass shaders, it's got some cinematic direction. Okay, I
really comes down to we have to pick one.
We have to pick one.
That's kind of what it comes down to. Is we have to pick one. So,
part of the rationale for why we make the judging deliberations public and not have them off the record and we just come out, we picked our winners, is that at the end of the day it's not really that important who wins in a game jam. I think what people find really valuable, particularly about this jam, which is pretty unique, is the fact that their games get attention and they get played and they get feedback. Because, Mihai, you remember when I submitted to Indicate, it was like $75 and I got back like a paragraph or two of feedback and response, like, great, thanks. And I've heard some bad things.
And then you could pay more to display your game at Indicate.
Yeah. So it's like game devs are kind of starved for good feedback like this. So I think whether or not, Vaporized or Vector Soldier wins best art, the fact that we're able to thoughtfully discuss them it's the real prize. It was the friends we made along the way. So
it's the heated arguments in the middle of the night.
But no, I think that's
and then we announce it's the anachronistic early 2000s vaporwave graphics card box generator that
Boom!
really won.
Dark Horse candidate. But no, because what I love about this is the fact that we all love games, and the fact that we love games allows us to talk about games thoughtfully. So I guess, what are we thinking?
And
Vaporized?
4 different perspectives on experience.
I am willing, since we need to come to consensus, I am willing to acquiesce in permitting. I'm being contentious. I am willing to acquiesce to Vaporized for our best art.
All right, so congratulations to Vaporized by the Cheshire Cat for best art, and also congratulations to Vector Soldier Vero by Team Vulture Party as runner-up in art. And now we're on.
Oh God, what's the next one?
It's gameplay, best gameplay.
Gameplay.
So, all those things that all y'all have been holding in.
So I'm going to come right out of the gate then and put Vector Soldier Vero right there as being a solid platformer. It perfectly nails the style it's going for. It had controller support. If there is anything that felt like a critique to it, it's just I wanted to remap the buttons as to get with something that felt like a comfortable controller thing, but I had the full options to do that. And it's easy to follow. It wasn't too unforgiving. It was all in all a very solid game that it was the first game that I said I am going to complete this right now because I want to play through everything of it.
I will.
Of all the games, is the first one.
My nominee for this, or one of my nominees for this, is Vapor Ascendance, which is the endless bouncy ball game. I like that because I could actually play that. I was very bad at Vapor Soldier Vero. I went back and played it again after the stream. I was still bad at it. And I mean, there was nothing new or inventive about Vapor Ascendance, but that's the genre.
It was tight.
It was a very good game that you could that would suit mobile well, where it's all right. Now let's ascend and keep ascending.
I'm gonna say. Oh, are you good?
Oh well, I figure one of y'all will probably mention this, so y'all throw out some nominees first before I keep blathering.
I was gonna say Heaven EXE.
Yes.
I have some very specific very like nimbly pimbly qualms with it as a longtime TTRPG player that I will enumerate should that be required. But as far as like a TTRPG made in a made in a like a as far as a TTRPG made in a jam deadline that's flexible enough to be a solo versus a GM'd game, and the way they set it up, like again, I have some minor nimbly pimbly qualms. It was fucking excellent. Like very well
agree.
constructed.
I had a great time playing it as a solo experience. I imagined it would be very fun
Same.
with other people. What I also really liked about it was how it took advantage of the medium it was in, because it's a PDF, and you play it in a PDF viewer. You have it, you know, the GM or you have it up in the PDF viewer, so you like click these blocks. And I thought that was a very clever way to acknowledge like the reality of how it would actually be played, because obviously I'm not going to print out that whole manual. And what I liked about the setting is that if I was so motivated to like keep playing this past the jam, it feels like a fun setting to kind of invent campaigns for.
Like the
Especially
one
with the choose your own adventure kind of style to it, because
Exactly.
it is a TTRPG, but when you described it as a choose your own adventure, I went, oh, it
yeah, exactly.
showed it a whole new and for me more accessible light, as I often have a tough time with TTRPGs.
Yeah.
But after seeing that and realizing what I was doing, I went, oh, duh, it's I'm getting lost in the starter details. I'm having fun going through this campaign with the player choices.
Yeah. More than any other game I played in this jam, it captured a sense of excitement of, oh, what's going to happen next. I think something Milo was mentioning earlier, that's sort of like the rare magic or joy of games. And I think Heaven.exe captured that the most out of the entries for me. Just out of like just kind of capturing my interest.
New. It was something. It was like everything. It was like everything else. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I was done.
I was like everything. Okay. It's like everything else. I mean, there's only so much you can do with friggin' gameplay is the problem. But like, I could definitely. There are definitely some picks here where I'm like, yeah, that was solid gameplay. Yeah, that was solid gameplay. Yeah, that was solid gameplay. Like as far as from like a technical perspective. But they were all like the same. They were all the same. Like they're all like these are all gameplay mechanisms that. These are all gameplay mechanisms that I have seen before in other games, and honestly, like having played a lot of indie TTRPGs, like I haven't seen this particular methodology of I've seen a little bit, but like this particular methodology of gameplay presentation. And again, things I would change 100%.
Yeah.
But it was again, it's kind of like Milo said. This is one of the few ones, again, the few ones where I was like, okay, this is some interesting new ideas. Oh, okay, I see that, you know.
Because I think one of the only critiques I would have for it is like not much replay value, but we can't really judge gameplay on replay value in a heckin' jam. Because I feel like none of these games had a whole lot of replay value anyway. And I feel like if they like, took the idea further, you know, the core manual could be expanded. One thing I want to bring up before I forget is I definitely appreciated, as far as gameplay goes, hyper blocks for taking the concept of Tetris and doing something surprising and different with it.
Yeah. I did like that a lot. I feel like there was something else.
Hyperblocks was going to be my out-and-out gameplay pick, but I think I'm going to shift it down to my runner-up because the things that were exciting to me about it are more if they would continue working on it and expand it and make it even more of what it already is. I think some of the games you all have mentioned are a little more successful immediately. But Hyperblocks, when we saw it, I was like, I love how much this takes Tetris and turns it on its head, and like how far you could go with mangling this sort of very traditional, very, at this point, tried sort of formula. I loved seeing, you know, just looking at it the first time with the piece falling and seeing it in the background, I was thinking like, how does this affect the gameplay? And I that was so exciting to me. but I think we've already discussed it a little bit. There are like things that could really make it like an incredible experience that people would come back to just because it's so fun. Whereas right now it feels almost a little like a tech demo for that idea more than it feels like, and based on having 2 weeks, that 100% makes sense. But I want to nominate it because it's so awesome. But some of the other games that you guys have mentioned feel more complete right now. So that's sort of my feeling.
I think you're right on the money in that the potential is there, but it needs some work before it's like as fun as it should be right out of the box. And I think that's part of the danger
I think it has to.
When you deliberately make a game that is very similar to other games, you invite comparison. So like not long after I played that, I went and I like regular Tetris. And it's sad to say, it's like, oh, this feels so much better because I, have hard drop and I've got the ghost piece and I've got like all the, creature comforts of Tetris. And so I hope that Tamar keeps working on it, because if, he adds those things, then I think it would be super fun. But as it is now, I'd just be playing it being like, I just wish I was playing regular Tetris.
I think one thing that would even make it fun is if there were some elements of blocks that aren't quite blocks that are right, whether you get switched into pentominoes or if you get switched into I forget.
This is a non-Puyo household.
Oh, no.
No Puyos. I'm anti-Puyo.
Do not worry. I'm not going to mix Vaporwave and Puyos. But feeling, or if you had like glitched blocks where you could have them be.
It's true. The theme didn't really
kind
come
of a
through in the
darker
gameplay at
poison thing. So I think it would be things that would add to the gameplay even more by adding yet another dimension on top of this. It's a Tetris game, but you ultimately want to not play it like Tetris for what you all mentioned earlier with building up this image of the devil by not deliberately not playing Tetris.
So I
thought I was going with that.
I'm very strongly in favor of Heaven.exe for best gameplay. I think Ash agrees. What do y'all think?
I don't have any frame of reference for tabletop RPGs, so I'm happy to kind of defer it, since, like I said, my pick is more of a potential pick than a actual what ended up on the screen in front of me pick. And I don't know one that I feel strong, and I also feel like that is such an ambitious undertake. It's like completely different than anything else in the jam. So I do feel like that's really awesome to me. So I'm good to go with that.
Thoughts, Mihai?
If I have any takes on things, I think the 3 strongest games have awesome replayability. And it comes down to difficulty replayability versus option replayability, like Heaven.exe. Even though you play through it and you get an ending, there are multiple endings.
This is true.
And it changes based on how the party forms. And I think that is a fascinating aspect for how much went into this. It's hard because it's such a radically different stylistic choice, or Piper Blocks, which is just you play it. It's a solid, tried and true. You enjoy the gameplay, and with a little tweak would be awesome. So I know in my mind I'm trying to think between either the difficulty that the gameplay is you overcome to keep playing it, which is solid, or the replayability with playing alone or playing in a party.
So okay, let's say winner of best gameplay is Heaven.exe. So congrats to them. But now we gotta figure out runner up. And I have a few opinions, because we didn't mention Virtual Drive 96 or Super Vaporwave Ball. And in terms of games that would be really fun if they just like tweaked them a bit, Virtual Drive was really cool, and the aesthetic was on point, and the audio was fun, but the damn car kept on flipping over, making it really hard to enjoy playing. But
I felt the same way about like Razor Rainbow.
Yeah, that was another one where it's there's a good game buried in here. I think I support Virtual Drive more than Razor Rainbow, which I haven't brought up.
Yes.
in as much as
I just wanted to mention it. We hadn't brought it up yet. I wanted to mention it.
yeah.
I think Hyperblocks is stronger than I wish they would fix the game. Like I don't think anything about Hyperblocks is broken.
That's
I
true.
feel like it's a very satisfying
That's
out of the box experience. I just want more of it, really. It
I
left me
would
wanting
agree.
more,
I would
think.
agree. I would agree. That's what kind of bumps it up for me is like the next possible pick because I love Virtual Drive 96, but again, that fucking car.
I also want to mention
Problem.
I enjoyed Super Vaporwave
Mhm.
Ball, but one thing that makes me not really strongly support it in this category would be there was not a lot there that really took advantage of the concept of like momentum and physics. Most of it was kind of standard platforming that you could find in a Mario game, where it's like when you've got a rolling marble, you should have some like rolling marble bouncing off the walls things.
Yeah.
So I feel like they did not take advantage of their premise as well as they could have.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it. I got to beat it, which is great. I almost never beat games, so congrats to them.
Question.
Yes.
Did we completely forget Vector Soldier Vero? I haven't heard
Oh,
anybody.
shit!
So I was about to say, because Vector Soldier Vero, a lot of the discussions of the runner-ups, we love it, but there's one flaw. I feel Vector Soldier Vero was solid. There wasn't anything. The difficulty is hard, but I go, this is something that it's not unforgiving.
Yeah.
It was tested. Nothing got in the way of gameplay aside from maybe just remapping the controller a little bit for me.
I think the gameplay was solid. I would support Hyperblocks over Vector Soldier Vero, in part due to the fact that Hyperblocks presents something new that I hadn't quite seen before, whereas Vector Soldier Vero doesn't have anything particularly unique about its gameplay. And that doesn't,
I'm
that's my own
amenable to that. Everybody was talking about wanting to throw it on for gameplay, so I thought it was kind of funny we were forgetting to mention it.
Yeah, no, it deserves to be mentioned. So,
I'm totally in alignment with Hyperblocks being the runner-up.
I am as well.
Me too.
Mostly for same thing that Shivani said with it's different.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Mihai? Are you good with Hyperblocks as runner-up?
I'll admit, I feel Vector Soldier Vero had a stronger impact for the gameplay, because even if it did not feel innovative, it felt probably the most solid for the experience.
I would agree with that as well.
But I understand that it's breaking down gameplay into different aspects, so Hyperblocks was also very solid.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I think part of it, this is just my own bias, but I was very bad at Vector Soldier Vero, and one of my complaints about Hyperblocks was it was too easy. So I'm going to go with Hyperblocks because I could play it longer without frustration, I suppose. But they were both very solid. I mean, we're talking about, top of the jam here. So that said, I suppose congratulations to Heaven.exe for best gameplay, and congrats to Hyperblocks as runner-up of best gameplay. Very nice.
In fact, I think that's our first tabletop winner of a jam.
That's the first tabletop game ever submitted to a Dog Pit Jam.
Congratulations.
Bravo.
So I'm happy to see it. Want to see more. Want to see more from this developer, and I want to see more tabletop games submitted. Because I've long maintained that the most important part of games is not programming. The most important games is like designing the game.
Next time, if somebody wants to do Vaporwave Mousetrap, I'm in support of that.
You should.
I would like a Vaporwave Mall Madness. Y'all are missing the most appropriate board game for a Vaporwave version.
Oh man.
I just remembered.
I forgot that game.
You have to be a girl in the 90s, then you remember Mall Madness.
I just remember the commercials.
When I was a kid, involved a fake phone. You had to get a boyfriend on your fake phone. I barely remember this.
You had to date. Yes. Oh my god. Oh my god. What was that freaking Aaron Carter was in it? I don't know. Something ridiculous.
I can't even remember now.
I'm also I'm gonna propose Vaporwave Clue. Somebody wants to do
Ooh,
some.
there you go.
Some what do you call that? FMV, like an FMV
Oh,
game,
yeah,
but
an
it's all
FMV
like
game.
acid dripping on the screen.
Mm,
I'd like that.
Dream phone.
Please,
phone!
somebody make an FMV.
Dream-
Please, somebody make an FMV jam game.
All right.
and whatever the role of Tim Curry is, it's just the Greco-Roman head.
Yeah.
I'll have to link y'all later. Somebody did make an FMV jam game. It was Hitlersaurus Christ many years ago. Do you remember
my
it?
Lord. Okay.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember. It was the Hyper Turbo Voynich manuscript is the name of the game.
Okay,
Oh, I
that
forgot
sounds
that.
incredible.
I'll link that later. It is incredible. It is incredible. But right now, and speaking of incredible, we are now on the category of best aesthetic. It's our penultimate.
We have
this is gonna be
ascended to
hard.
the aesthetic.
This
This
one
is
is
gonna
so
be a
hard because
bloodbath.
it's such a gestalt, you know? It's like
This is
what
sort of the
game
catch-all
best
category.
represents everything.
Sort of, who do you think did really well in the jam despite not quite slotting into the other categories, basically? But I would toss right out there graphics card box generator as a standout in this category.
That is, that's the
such
one
a
I feel the
weird-
strongest about.
It was such a weird thing, and
the
it's
anachronistic
like,
early 2000s favorite graphics card box generator. Sorry, the full title.
yeah.
Took me to such a nostalgic place, remembering all those box arts of just 3D, 500 megabytes.
I
And
think
just
it.
random. Go ahead, Milo.
I think it definitely does the most with the theme in terms of which game fits the theme like an extra small T-shirt. It's this one. I feel like this is perfectly crafted around what the idea behind the jam was.
Yeah, I'm
Definitely the
not going to
spirit of
fight
it.
anybody on it because it was kind of perfect.
All right. So that was easy. I think we're all for the anachronistic early 2000s vaporwave graphics card box generator as best aesthetic. So congrats, Tyler.
I think what it is. It's the absurdity. It's this Dada-esque absurdity
Yeah.
of it. It's just like,
Yeah, and I think
And
The
then when you
mocking
finally
of
get
the
to scroll
concept
away and get the
itself.
3D render of the graphics card.
I should
Yeah.
point out, Tyler later showed us in Discord that the 3D model of the graphics card he made himself, based on his own graphics.
Nice.
So it's like
Wow.
that is some really nice modeling there. Yes.
Complete with a custom reflective sticker on the fan.
I don't know if he submitted this way or if you just wrote it this way in the sheet, but I like that everybody else is sort of like Team Zetson, Team Vaporball, Team Brunicorn, and then he's just Tyler. I like that a lot.
Well, it's because there was a form that everybody had to fill out to submit, and the main thing is I wrote like write how your game follows the theme to like weed out people who just like submit their game to every single jam.
Yeah.
And it's great because since I started doing that, we stopped getting a lot of drive-bys because just writing a single sentence was too much for these lazy fuckers. But I also invited people to write their team name because it's been a tradition of these jams is everybody has a team name.
Yeah.
Of course,
So it's
yeah,
funny to
yeah,
see
yeah.
what people come up with, but it's also funny where it's like there's no team, it's just Tyler. Just Tyler.
Yeah, because even Tom R gave us his last initial, but Tyler came out strong with just Tyler.
Just Tyler.
yeah.
Just Tyler.
Yeah, and Tyler's had some interesting submissions in past jams. It's given us a lot of really good rendered stuff.
I kind of
Nice.
like to imagine that it's not all the same Tyler. It's a cabal of people who show up to just be Tyler that year.
Could be. It could be.
Mhm. It's like
Tyler
Bond. It's like Bond, just changes actors.
We need a
Getting
runner
back
up.
on track, it sounds like.
Yes.
Runner
We
up
do need a runner up.
Oh yeah.
God, that's so difficult. Super Vaporwave will be one of mine.
Super Wave Ball was very
Because it's
aesthetic.
so wacky.
Man, I think I would give it to Virtual Drive 96 just for
Mhm.
the presentation, the Windows 95 window,
I think what
DeLorean with a gun on it to stop.
That's true. I would support Vaporwave Ball over Virtual Drive 96 for the shaders because I am into that, but also because I felt like the HUD was integrated better because part of the problem I had with Virtual Drive 96 was it took me a long time to figure out what the hell was going on. But I mean, it's a tough choice because Virtual Drive 96 did incorporate a lot of stuff well. It is tough.
I sort of feel like tragedy will not stop the happy ending is being left out of the discussion.
That's a
I
good
feel like
point.
the aesthetic of that was very strong.
That's another.
That's true.
I mean, it's a lot of things really good aesthetic. I mean, I would even throw in freaking We already said
On the
Super
topic
Wave
of
Ball, didn't
tragedy,
we?
you make a good point because the aesthetic was not just a part of like the gameplay was part of like the transition screens, and it was part of the interface. It was like the whole thing oozed style.
Vapor Ascendance was another one where I was like,
That's
this was
true.
goofy.
That had
So
that
like
had good.
aesthetic is hard because like a lot, but like that one's just kind of like it could have gone further, but also it felt like it was trying to.
That's true. Vapor Aesthetic, Vapor Ascendance, like checked all the marks for good style. I think what makes me not push for it so hard in this category was that other things hit the style in a way that was even more integrated or more visually impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also have to correct myself as I realize I mixed up the game. Super Vaporwave Ball had the Windows border.
Okay, so we agree.
Just pulled everything together. As I enjoyed the aesthetic of both, but that's just that windowed classic in the 90s. Just that little extra touch.
Yeah. How do we feel about Super Vaporwave Ball's runner-up?
I would be on board with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
With that said, I also want to give one shout out to Tremblay Kinfolk Overdrive because I think they were the one game that included Japanese in here for any of the Vaporwave games. So just want to give a shout out for just that little extra of
yeah. I think the aesthetic of that game is really solid. I did not think it fit the theme super strongly, but I like the overall direction, as I think I already said. So for sure.
Yeah, it did well, and I like the title screen, and I like sort of a lot of things. I think where it lost me on theme was the palette was not particularly integrated. And like you could look at a lot of screenshots of it and not realize it was supposed to be a part of this jam.
Yeah,
whereas like
100%.
Virtual Drive 96 or Super Vaporwave Ball, like those are obviously part of this jam.
Right.
Yes.
Milo, you sounded kind of downhearted about Super Vaporwave Ball being a runner-up. Do you have another game you want to pitch?
No, I guess if nobody else felt like Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy Ending was that strong, then I'm okay with it.
I see what you're saying.
I think Super Vaporwave Ball is definitely an achievement.
For me, it's a matter of for me, it's a very, very close, very close.
Mm-hmm. I think
the thing that pushes me over is the thing that pushes me over, and this is like super, super stupid, but the thing that pushes me over for Super Wave Ball versus Tragedy is like Super Wave Ball felt in my spirit. Like I got like flashbacks, like war flashbacks. That's the thing that like that's the one little thing that kind of pushed me over a little bit.
Yeah, the whole
kind of
feel
aesthetic
of it.
versus graphics.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's like it's not even to say, if a game's hotly debated in these jams and one wins over the other, it doesn't mean like one's intrinsically better. It's always going to be somewhat subjective. I think one thing that weakens Tragedy, even though Tragedy's super strong, is the actual sprites of the characters didn't seem to support the theme, not even in palette.
Yeah, sure.
But it is a tough call because it had that like Dixie Cup transition screen, and it was on the floor, and it had the tracking error, full screen effect, and the shaders. It's a tough call, and so I'm just kind of going with the Super Wave Ball. Just like it
I'm fine with that.
But I'm glad you brought up Tragedy,
I got
though,
no qualms with it
because it definitely deserved mention. So congrats to Super Vaporwave Ball as runner-up in Best Aesthetic, and once again, congrats to the anachronistic early 2000s Vaporwave graphics card box generator as winner of Best Aesthetic.
Plus, it's one of the few graphics cards you can probably buy in 2021.
and
it doesn't even exist.
Title.
Cry.
We laugh
So glad.
because we don't watch
Art
it.
life imitates art, or something like that.
Okay.
So, guys, we are now on our final category, and this category is Game of Jam. So we're looking at the game which is the most cohesively as I keep saying, the full package, then suggestively waggling my eyebrows. That
Rico.
it's just like the best experience that also exemplifies what this jam's all about. So guys, who do you think ought to win Game of Jam?
Vaporized.
Yeah, I think Vaporized.
Yeah,
I couldn't with that
I think
hot
vaporized.
take.
I think vaporized.
Yeah? Thoughts from Mihai?
Well, I was trying to decide between either Vaporized or Vector Soldier Vero.
I support Vaporized over Vector Soldier Vero as a cohesive whole. I think that the sum of the parts is greater in terms of with Vaporized. As a complete experience, I think it's much stronger than Vector Soldier Vero.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel as well. Where it's like all the different parts of Vaporized are good, but maybe not necessarily like exemplary compared to others. Like together, it's like hell yeah.
I gotta say, Vaporized was stunning to see. It did capture pretty much everything that this jam had, and narrative, gameplay, graphics.
And I think
like narrative and a jam timeline is this extra weird complication that really having done a bajillion visual novel jams. Narrative on a jam timeline is this weirdly extra complication that it's more than
oh boy, tell me
not
about
that like a yeah, like
I was gonna say we have some stories.
Oh,
all
boy.
of us.
exactly. It's like not that a platformer isn't completely and totally impressive, but like once you make a platformer, you've made a platformer. And it's like, so having an extra narrative element is like an exponential increase in complication.
I think
So
more so than narrative, what makes me
I like
support Vaporized is something Milo mentioned earlier, the sort of spark of magic when a game shows you something beyond what you initially thought was possible. And that's such a rare and beautiful moment in anything, film, books, video games. So I think it's really special when a game gives you that spark of, the borders of reality are a bit larger than I initially thought. It's like that moment when you see Vaporland.
Quite literally in the case of this game.
Right. Yeah. That makes me support Vaporized as Game of Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I having like zero game jam experience other than just sort of like if I've had a friend participating in one who sent me their game or something. I really didn't know what to expect going in, and that game feels like I wouldn't even know it was a game jam game if I didn't encounter it in this game jam. Like if I saw it out in the wild, I would just be like, yeah, that's an awesome video game. And it really did sort of like vastly reset my expectations when I encountered it. So I feel like it's definitely a clear winner for me.
So,
It's striking.
any objections? Are we in agreement? Consensus?
Yeah.
All right.
That
In
was
that
super
case-
super easy consensus.
Just
Huge.
bravo on all accounts.
Huge. Congratulations to the Cheshire Cat, developer of Vaporized, Game of Jam, VaporJam. That was a hell of an accomplishment. And Vaporized won Best Art, which means Vector Soldier Vero is promoted now to Best Art. So now we've got our
Congratulations to everyone.
winners. Best Audio, Vector Soldier Vero, with runner-up Tragedy Will Not Stop the Happy End. Best Art, Vector Soldier Vero. Best Gameplay, Heaven.exe, with runner-up Hyperblocks. Best Aesthetic, the anachronistic early 2000s Vaporwave graphics card box generator, with runner-up Super Vaporwave Ball. And once again, congrats to Vaporized Game of Jam. Amazing work, amazing jam. These are some fucking great games. And I believe prizes are going to be keys for Baba as You and the Cherry Orchard. So if you are on a team, which one? See me after class. So we made it through another jam. I'm so proud of everybody. I know we always say this, but I always mean it from the bottom of my heart. If you submitted a game, you are a winner. Because making a game is fucking hard. So if you made a game, you're already head and shoulders above the vast multitudes. And I also want to take this moment to thank all of the guests who showed up on stream, and especially the judges for putting in the time and the effort to judge these games, because it's a lot of work behind the scenes. So thank you to all of you, Ash, Mihai, and Milo. So my sign-off done. As always, we're going to go down in a row, and if anybody has any parting comments, you'll have your chance. So, Ash, any goodbyes to say to the chat?
Everyone did such a fantastic job. Like Shmanya said, if you've made a game, you're one up from the people who didn't make a game, ones who complain about games but then don't do anything about it. So take that and run with it. Great job. Everyone did fantastic. This was so difficult and everything was so good. So just keep it on. Use this as your inspiration to do your next game, because you deserve it.
All right, Mihai, you got any parting comments for us?
Getting to watch everyone's work over the years and seeing individuals, whether this is their first jam or whether they've been doing jams for years now, it is so awesome to see all the work that goes into everything and just bringing in this feeling of aesthetic and the interpretation being all over the place. It is wonderful. It is wild. It's a joy to get to play all of these and just get to see your work. So like Ash was saying, just thank you for sharing it. Keep creating. Be awesome. And yeah, looking forward to the next game.
All right, Milo, any parting words?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is not in my usual wheelhouse, so it's really awesome to see everybody's work. Yeah, it was really, I saw some stuff that really, really blew me away, and just to see the general passion for making video games in general was super awesome. If anybody does make Screaming Tetris, please contact me. That's really all I wanted to say.
Awesome.
Make sure we all get the audition sides, wing-wing.
Excuse me. Exactly.
It's been an honor jamming with everybody. See you next time. All right, judges, say goodbye to everybody.
Good
Bye, everybody.
Good night, y'all.